Okay. Yeah, your mic is scratchy, Earth Flattener. So.
All right.
My mic is scratchy.
No.
No, not yours. The other guy.
Earth
Yeah,
Flattener.
my mic is scratchy.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
So I've got
Sounds like you're Stephen Hawking.
To do with the scientific method. It looks like, it looks like they want to scrap the scientific method. It's a very interesting article.
Yeah. Duh. What do you think? Why would that be? Could it be because?
It's amazing. Like all of a sudden now they're saying, well, we don't need a scientific method and blah blah blah.
Right.
So,
all they need is a hypothesis, and they're happy.
Right. So I want to put that out there. So I think people can understand exactly what we're up against. You know how they.
Am I still scratchy?
No, that's better.
Okay. All right. So I was reading on here because I was wondering why you were talking about 1913, and it says the Federal Reserve Act was enacted December 23rd, 1913.
Yes.
So
2 days before Christmas.
So why were you
on vacation basically?
Hold on, Owen.
So why are you saying that the Rothschilds took over in 1913?
With the Federal
where
Reserve.
are you getting that from?
Well, because before that time, here I'll show you. Before that time, we had these things, and these are silver certificates, and they don't even say Federal Reserve anywhere on them. It says United States of America, and it says we'll pay to bearer on demand in silver. Okay, so everything was based on either silver or gold up until that time. And then it was taken over in 1913. And now a private corporation, the Federal Reserve, because at the top of all these, they're not even certificates anymore. They're called notes.
The Federal Reserve notes.
A Federal Reserve note. A note is a promissory note, a promise to pay. So since that time, you don't own anything. You don't own your house. You don't own your car. It says who owns the car right on the plate. It says the state of California or state of New York or what have you. And your home, I'm a real estate broker. You don't own your land either. It's a deed. It says that you're a tenant in common or a joint tenancy. You don't own it. You don't purchase land anymore, or you don't buy land. You purchase property. And there's a huge difference. So as far as who owns what to who, and if the biggest thing that I see is all of the parties, left and right, I don't vote, left and right belong, or they support the Federal Reserve, and they support Israel. That's what I see. And it doesn't make any sense to me why we're paying back all this so-called debt to the Federal Reserve and why we're allowing them to print money in the first place.
While they don't allow any openness of what they're actually doing at the same time.
Right, and if we look at the Uniform Commercial Code, we can actually print our own notes, but that gets us in trouble because of who's controlling what, and the disinformation. All the media, when the Federal Reserve took over in 1913, they purchased all the media, and I don't care if it's Fox News or CNN or Sky News or RT. It doesn't matter. They control it all through their money. And so, and they ever since 1850 in the United States, they come up with mandatory school. So now that you have government controlling all the schools, well, that's where you got your Globe and all that other crap coming into these school systems because they control it. They control everything about it. They control all the corporations. I was the CEO of a corporation. I had to register it with the state of California. Once you register it, they own it. So it's just a big scam. See, corporations aren't even necessary. We should just have companies. Companies are just, see, with a corporation, you have this veil, which means that you can hide behind the veil and you take no responsibility for your actions. Whereas a company or a partnership or a sole proprietorship, if you screw somebody over, you're going to lose everything, and that's the way it ought to be. If you put a product that hurts people, like vaccines, like all this other bullshit that they got here, you should be held accountable.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Travis, Sleeping Warrior, Spurs Chemo, P Mars, Jose, Jacob, Flat Earth Vegan, Earth Flattener, and Arwin. Got there in the end. Good to have you all.
And it's not Flat Earth Vegan,
Hello.
it's Flat Earth Vegan Goy. It's a different guy.
Indeed.
So I'd just like to highlight that something just to before you get into the banking side of it, just to give a little Flat Earth story, or so the scientific method. It seems to be up for question now. Can you show my screen?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah. So I was discussing with the board as I do. How do we know the Earth is a ball? How do we have the understanding that we do? And we've been told that they follow the scientific method. But after a long discussion, they conceded that their starting position is a hypothesis. They don't ask any questions. They don't make any observations. And there is no research into this whatsoever. They simply think there is a problem and try to find the outcome to that problem. Now, you might think, well, that's flat earthers. They don't understand science, and we don't understand the correct way to use it, and so on. But as I was discussing with the globe earthers, they said, well, this is something that, we don't need science. And I was thrown back, well, what do you mean? And I was sent this link. Can you see my screen? Don't know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, good. So I was sent this link by M. Scott Beach, because he was pushing the fact that we don't need the scientific method. So he's supporting the fact that no scientific method, they say. So I found an interesting part in this article. So if you scroll down, you manage to find it. It says, and if I can find it, give me a second. Blah, 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 blah. So it says, the idea of isolating variables and working through them in stepwise fashion is relatively a recent invention. The ancient Greeks didn't really do it. No one did, except here, and they're in very limited fashion, and in ways that weren't followed up. So it talks about the idea of isolating variables, and it goes on, blah, blah, blah. Read here. He points out that historians of science don't seem to realize this and assume that experimentation in its modern sense has always been with us. But that isn't so. So it seems that science today doesn't realize that the scientific method hasn't always been used, which is why a lot of, I think, people today are confused about why there isn't any scientific evidence of a globe. So yeah, that's basically telling people in a nutshell, we don't use the scientific method to prove things. So I just, what did you make of that? What do you think of that?
Sounds like they're just looking for an excuse to allow presuppositional arguments again. Because that is really what the scientific method does get out of the way, even if you don't uphold a very, very, very rigid system, which in my opinion is not really necessary. And you could allow complex hypotheses and all that, in my opinion. But yeah, you could still not allow presuppositions, and that is a big, big problem for the body of science. So yeah, I think that's why they're doing that.
I mean, I think this would be of interest to any, Glober who believes that they use science to prove where they did. They bypass observations, they bypass research, they bypass any questions. So
they're just trying to make it, like, give it a scientific legal option of reintroducing presuppositions as part of scientific proof, basically.
Well, isn't it
that
an
is their
aspect?
biggest thing. That's the biggest thing they need. It's where it all
Isn't
rests
this going
on,
to be?
R.
Isn't this going to be an aspect of changing the narrative, so to speak, so that in 10 years we don't have the scientific method at all and no one knew that it ever existed? So to go back, there's like three things. Yeah. So to go back to my grade school, if you were to ask me a year ago before I got into flat Earth, is space a perfect vacuum? I would have said, yeah. Because that's what I was taught.
Right.
It's a perfect vacuum, but it's not anymore. So the narrative's changing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are things that we need to pay attention to. I think that there's another one in terms of, I remember maybe in the late 90s hearing that the Earth is an oblate sphere wood. I'm like, what? Since when? Because that wasn't my narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one would be the movement of the sun, right? So when I was growing up, the solar system was stationary. The sun was in the middle, but now the sun is trajecting through space. Huh.
Right. And now also suddenly all these technologies have these gadgets specifically to account for the globe of the Earth, like how gyroscopes supposedly have pendulous vanes to correct for the curvature and all that nonsense, and how we're supposed to, is it again, that the horizon measuring device, it's now supposed to also be constructed specifically to measure the curvature. All these things have all been reinvented just to support the narrative. It's all made up out of nothing. That's not what they were designed for ever.
it just would be interesting to hear a baller. It would have been nice if there was a baller, maybe on the panel, to address, the idea that science is not used. They're constantly going on about how science is used, but we can find out that they've never used variables. They've never looked at dependent, independent variables, and this is something that they should be looking at.
Unorthodox, what's your opinion on it? Unorthodox is here. He can give his take on this.
Oh, we have a ball earther here.
I'm sorry, what do you want my opinion on?
Who's the ball earther?
Me, Unorthodox?
Me too.
So, Unorthodox, we've been told for the longest time that the Greeks knew it was born. We've been told that we've been using the scientific method. Did you not see? I just showed an article that said the scientific method has never been used.
She passed away last week. You just showed an article that showed that the scientific method has never been used?
Yeah, it wasn't. The Greeks never used the scientific method.
Oh.
We've never been at war with East Asia. Come on. Just down the memory hole.
Yeah, I'm not
always
really sure
been
what
at
you
war
want
with
me to comment
Oceania.
about.
Just accept it.
Except what? That the scientific method was never used by the Greeks?
No, do you accept the scientific method?
Do I accept the scientific method? Sure, I accept it. It's given us modern day, the modern world, right?
That's what I'm asking you. Are you saying that the scientific method has told us where we live, the shape of the Earth, and distance of stars or whatever?
I don't know a whole lot about how they get the distance to the stars. I know it has something to do with radar. But yes.
All right. So, but you know, like Neil deGrasse says, we are against science. What does he mean by that?
He says that you guys are against science, flat earthers?
Yeah. Yeah. What? I don't know if you've heard him say that, but what do you suppose he would mean?
He just means that you guys are science deniers. You deny.
That's what I'm asking you. So, what kind of science is it?
What kind of science?
Method?
Basic physics.
Like the Cavendish experiment?
Yeah, the Cavendish experiment.
Experiment.
Rockets don't work in a vacuum, right? That's
right.
Like the mechanics
Demonstrable.
You roboted out.
Sling.
You were breaking up, Travis.
I said like the mechanics of a sling.
Yeah, that was so silly. The mechanics of a sling. You guys trying to argue about that? That was so silly.
No, but just stick with this. So we've had a couple, namely the Cavendish quote-unquote experiment. But an experiment is a hypothesis test. That's what an experiment is.
Yes, Nathan. We've heard you say it 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, you know, I've had, before the show started, one guy, I think it was vegans again, he was like, well, they just want to stop at the hypothesis stage. Well, a hypothesis is a scientific prediction. Well, it's no good to just have a hypothesis because it's got two sides to it. One that says the thing you predict will happen, the other saying it won't. And you can eliminate things as not the cause when you formulate and test a hypothesis. So to say you do away with the scientific method is ludicrous because it's the thing that establishes cause and effect definitively.
Yes. So you agree with the Cavendish experiment?
It's not an experiment.
Not an experiment. Well,
I just went through this. An experiment is a hypothesis test.
Yes.
So,
the hypothesis was that mass attracts mass.
Right. So, number one, that's not a hypothesis.
It's not a hypothesis.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a hypothesis. So, a hypothesis establishes how your presumed cause, the independent variable, will produce the effect, the observed phenomena, the dependent variable. It also establishes what will happen if you have zero difference in the test, the experiment, your hypothesis test. So that's what a hypothesis is. So to say, well, I'll just formulate a hypothesis and then decide what a hypothesis is, mass attracts mass. That's not a hypothesis. That's not a scientific prediction.
Okay, well, let's just say it's not. So you can still prove that mass attracts mass.
No, you can't.
Sure you could, Nathan. Like I told you before, if I punched you in the face, do you need the scientific method to tell you that I punched you in the face?
No.
No, but
No.
This is the problem. You bypassed a question, bypassed observation, and you've also bypassed any research on this topic. You've already given the outcome to a problem. How can that be? That's what I'm saying.
Well, when we talked about this a lot, I mean, I guess you could formulate gravity into a hypothesis. You could say, you know, the strength of gravity is dependent upon the amount of mass.
Excellent. So your independent variable would be gravity.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Which is
So how are you going to vary and manipulate gravity?
By changing mass.
Sorry, that's not gravity then, is it? You absolute idiot. That would be you manipulating mass.
Don't tell me you can't understand.
Sorry, don't tell me what I can't understand. You've just told me that your independent variable is gravity. Then when I ask how you're going to vary it, you say I will vary mass. Not gravity.
Yeah.
It's a property given by mass.
What's mass?
The amount of atoms in a substance.
That's a mole. No,
Gravity
wrong.
changes the... Nathan,
Hold
gravity
on.
isn't...
Hold on, P. That's not mass. That's a mole.
Gravity changes depending on mass.
Go and look.
So you can,
P,
you can
shut your
manipulate the
mouth.
mass.
P. Sorry, no, that's not mass. That's a mole. Go and look up the definition.
Mole is a specific number of atoms, Nathan.
Yeah. So what did you say mass was again?
It's the amount of atoms.
Oh, so the same exact thing as mol then, you absolute retard.
Nathan,
yeah,
a mole
so the
is a
same
specific
as mol.
amount.
No, that's the
A
definition
specific amount
of
of
a mole, like I asserted and you have just confirmed. So that's not mass.
A mole is a unit of measurement, Nathan. It's a number of atoms.
Yeah, what you just said mass was.
The definition of mass, according to the science religion, is anything that has matter, and the definition of matter is anything that has mass.
That's not right. Mass is defined by its an object's ability to resist force.
Wrong. That would be inertia. We did this yesterday.
No.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be inertia. So the question arises:
No.
why
Inertia is
does
about
mass?
motion.
Why does mass have two definitions?
It doesn't, Nathan.
Oh, really? Well, you're saying a different definition to an orthodox. I'll leave you to fight out which one's correct. Apparently, it doesn't have two, even though literally in the last 25 seconds, we've had two.
Avogadro's number, a mole, is used in chemistry, and it relates to a specific number of atoms or molecules in like a gram. I forget the exact definition.
Yeah, that would be what you just said mass was. So we've
like
firmly established what a mole is. Well done, as asserted. Your description of mass is actually the description of a mole.
No, Nathan.
What's mass again?
It's not a specific number.
Oh, you're not going to tell me this time? Probably because it matches the description of a mole and contradicts P. Mars, even though he thinks there's only one definitive explanation and definition for mass. There isn't. There appears to be two. You've got a definition, the definition of a mole, and P. Mars has got a definition, the definition of inertia.
I got another one for you.
Oh, we've got three.
The
Wonderful.
property of matter that measures its resistance to acceleration. That's mass within physics.
No, that's inertia.
No, that's written right here. Sorry, I didn't make that.
Yeah, I know what it says, Arwin. It's also the definition of inertia.
No, mass inertia
you
is
can
a
deny
property
it.
of motion.
Let's get some
We went
definitions
through this
up.
yesterday, Nathan.
Yeah,
Not
I know
true.
we did.
Inertia is an object already at motion.
Yes,
It's not the
inertia
same
has to
thing.
do
Got
with
motion
the
and velocity being the same exact thing. The fact that you change one word doesn't mean that word...
There's no velocity in here.
Mass is a product.
Acceleration. Acceleration as
So
an
there's no velocity in
element,
acceleration,
which-
Arwin. That just shits all over your own argument. So there is velocity then. Acceleration.
I'll
That's
explain
velocity.
the difference between you, Nathan.
So you've
The
changed
mass
the
is
word
a-
that means movement. We are talking
No, it
about
does not.
inertia. That's what
There's
you're
no inertia
describing.
here.
You're wrong.
Only
Well,
acceleration.
okay, so now I'm having a different argument. It seems one side of this panel thinks inertia is mass. The other side think mole is mass.
No, you don't.
So
You're just ignorant.
maybe
No,
I'll
you're
leave
putting
you
more words in my
lot.
mouth.
I'll leave you lot to fight it out amongst yourselves because one side of you think inertia is mass, one side of you think mole is mass. So maybe, just maybe, an orthodox should be telling these guys where they're wrong. Because they think it's got something to do with how fast something's moving or accelerating. You seem to think it's about how much matter there is. So maybe you can correct them, an orthodox.
Mass is a property of
Not
an
P.
object,
Mars.
and inertia
Not
is
UP.
a property
Not
of
UP.
a
An
motion
orthodox.
and an object.
An orthodox has a completely contrary description. Coincidentally, the description of mole. But that's what an orthodox thinks mass is, and I'm getting him to correct you, P.
No.
You're an idiot, Nathan.
Mole
So
is
your
a specific
description,
number of
an
atoms,
orthodox,
Nathan.
your description didn't seem to.
So this is
An
what you're-
orthodox's description didn't seem to have anything to do with how fast something was moving or accelerating. Why would that be an orthodox?
Why do all your arguments?
I ask an orthodox why
Why you
his
just-
description disagrees with P, and P gets all triggered. Yeah, is that because you believe there's only one definition, dickhead? Yeah, I
No,
think
'cause
so,
you're an
P.
idiot. You're an idiot.
Yeah,
Can't even-
you'd be triggered too if somebody on your side of the argument gave a totally different definition and you were here telling us there was only one.
No, I didn't.
You're an
Oh, really?
idiot.
So your definition of mole included velocity, did it?
No, Nathan.
Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. Sounds like a two-definition situation.
Mhm.
very simple. Unorthodox, you're wrong. You were completely wrong.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about anymore. I don't even know what your argument is against.
Mass.
Mass
Hello?
is not defined by any quantity of units of molecules. It has nothing to do with it.
Excellent. Now you
The
can
only
fight it
thing that
out
it
amongst
is
yourselves
its
while I
resistance
sit
to
here and laugh.
acceleration, specifically. Not motion. Acceleration.
Yeah, unorthodox. It's
Only
all about
acceleration.
it's all about the motion of the ocean, man. Not about how many molecules.
No motion. Only acceleration.
Only acceleration.
Yeah, that's right here. If
Right,
you
do you
present
hear
my
that,
screen and everyone can
unorthodox?
see
It's only about
There's no
acceleration.
motion.
That's
There
what
are
mass
only
is. It's all about stuff moving, apparently.
No, it's not. It's about acceleration. There's
Yeah,
no
all about
motion
stuff moving.
in the description.
Yeah. What do you say to that, unorthodox? With your amount of molecules in something?
Like I said, you guys have, twisted this so far. I don't even really know what the argument is anymore.
I'll tell you. There's two definitions of mass. One describes inertia. The other describes mole.
I haven't
Mole
found
is
this
a
inertia
measurement
description
of
that
mass.
you
Yeah,
Nathan.
Arwen's
Then,
triggered
like a
because it's not the
kilogram.
definition he gives, and unorthodox is triggered because it's a description of a mole.
It's like a kilogram. A kilogram is a description of the amount of matter. Same thing with a mole.
No,
Yes, that's my point. Right. So you're saying mass and giving the description of a mole.
I know there are some balls here.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
God.
Funny though, isn't it? Listening to them argue amongst
No,
themselves about what mass is because it's got two totally different descriptions. Amazing, that, isn't it?
If you took some time to look up what the definitions of words are, Nathan, we could probably have a conversation at some point in the future.
Or tell that to unorthodox. He's giving a different definition to you.
He's not. You're an idiot.
One's used
Okay.
in chemistry,
He's giving the same,
Nathan,
is he?
Because they're using ratios to determine reactions in chemistry. The other is used
It has
in a
nothing
larger.
to do with mass. Dumbass.
It's the amount of atoms. You want me to tell
It
you the
has to
exact
do with
number, right?
volumic mass, not with regular mass. Oh my
Is
God,
there
dude.
are there any
Do
tests or experiments to what you're talking about, Arwen? Because we're hearing different alternative views, but are there any experiments? PMARS you as well. You guys have different views on inertia, gravity, mass, weight. Do you have any experiments?
I have no
Is
views
this just the
on inertia.
hypothesis where you go straight into your beliefs?
Man, this is such a stupid sticking point. I mean, it's
Really?
absolutely
So which
ridiculous.
one do we
Give
take
some
forward
what
then?
words mean? What do
Hold
you
on,
mean?
there's a bit of a problem. Hold on, unorthodox. So quite often in your globehead religion texts, otherwise known as mathematical equations, they use mass quite a lot. So we should really tie down which is correct here, I think.
Right.
Nathan, I'll say it again. A mole is the number of atoms. It's just a number of atoms. Simple as that.
Just a number of atoms. So I say a number of atoms and that's a mole. No, there's another qualifying piece of information you seem to have missed out.
What?
Well, you tell me. You seem to be all knowing about what a mole is, right?
It's just a number of atoms.
Just
That's
a
it.
number of atoms. That would be an atomic number.
No.
No.
Oh, right. So it's just the number of atoms. So if I bring up the definition of mole, it'll just say number of atoms.
It's defined as, let's see here, I'll look it up for you, Nathan, since you can't seem to look it up. One mole
Number
is
of
defined as
atoms
the amount of
to
substance
determine the
containing...
weight, the atomic weight. That's why they use mole, because you can't weigh individual molecules. That's why they use it. It's not mass. It is a
I'm not saying it's
mechanism
mass.
to measure the mass.
I never said it was mass. I said it's a number of particles, number of atoms, number of molecules. Simple as that.
Okay,
It's
so
not
it's,
as simple
it's
as that.
defined by how much it has comparable. I think this definition has changed. I'm sure John was explaining this to me yesterday, that they define it with carbon-12, but that's now dropped from the most recent or modern definition. But I'll read out what the dictionary definition says. The SI unit, amount of substance equal to the quantity containing as many elementary units. That's why they call it elementary units here, and then they qualify it, as there are atoms in 0.12 kilograms of carbon-12. That's the definition of a mole. So it's the amount.
Yes.
Right. So it's the amount of substance equal to the quantity containing as many elementary units there are atoms in 0.012 kilograms of carbon-12. So the amount of stuff there is in it, comparable to a specific amount of something else, carbon-12. But that's what you're saying mass is. How much stuff there is in it. Correct?
Nathan, it's a... Oh my god. Are you really not understanding this?
But now you tell me what mass is.
It's a measurement. Okay?
Tell me what...
We're not
Now
talking
you tell
about
me
what
what mass is. Tell me what mass is.
Mass isn't a specific number of something. A mole is a specific number of mass of elementary particles.
So those,
Get it?
so they are the same.
Number.
So you're saying they're the same.
No.
Well,
Okay, it's a non. Then just take it back to mass. Stop talking about mole. What is mass? Unorthodox.
Mass is the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? That are in a substance.
Well, atoms.
The matter that takes up space.
So you've just changed
It's not
the definition that mole gives, but used protons and neutrons and electrons where they use the word atoms. But other than that, your description is identical to the description
Nathan,
of a
mass
mole.
isn't a specific number.
Yeah, that's what it says. The SI unit is the amount of a substance, or you could rephrase that to the specific number, like you're saying masses. So they're the same. The two are the same.
Oh my god.
Not oh my god. Yeah, this is me pulling your pants down and spanking your ass with your description of what you think mass is. You think the description of mass is actually the description of a mole.
No, a mole is a specific number, Nathan.
And what's mass? What's mass?
Number.
What's mass? Is it not specific amount
Mass
of something
is
in something
not a
else?
specific number.
But
So
what
it's
is
a
it?
non-specific. Arwin, it's not. It's a non-specific number when we're talking about mass. Is it? How do you use it in the maths then?
It would be a variable.
Sorry. So it's so when you
know
say
mass,
mass,
right?
the amount of mass. When you say the amount of it, the amount of a variable. That's nonsense. Unorthodox.
What's nonsense?
Yeah, the amount. That's the qualifying term to say you're varying it. Of a variable. That's what you're saying mass is, a variable. So it's the amount
No, I'm saying
of a variable.
You asked me how you
This
could
is
use it in an
nonsense,
equation.
unorthodox.
I told you.
Yeah, other than
be a
you
variable.
changing the word atoms to protons and neutrons, you gave the definition of a mole for mass. They are
No.
the same.
No, they're not. A mole is a specific number, Nathan.
And what's mass?
It's, it's basically defined as the amount of particles.
The amount
in an
of.
object.
Sorry, so the amount of would be the specific number of then. When you say amount rather than specific number, those two things are actually the same.
Oh my god. Can you
Not oh my god. Again, me pulling down your pants and giving your ass a good old spanking by pointing out that changing the word subtly from the amount of something to the specific number of something doesn't change that they're the same thing, dickhead.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I'm really getting a spanking here. Yeah, we know.
Mass? Okay, here we go.
Here we
Mass
go.
is a measure of how much matter.
So the amount of stuff. That's a mole, dickhead.
Specific number of.
Yeah, the specific number. Like you keep saying mole is the specific number. God, I hope you listen to this back, you complete retard.
I don't understand what's so difficult about it. Yes, there.
Yeah, what's difficult is you're not getting the fact that you're giving the definition of a mole.
Can I jump in real quick for a point of clarification?
Matter.
Okay,
Sure.
Unorthodox. Let me ask you to differentiate with a specific example, please, between a mole and mass. Don't describe it. Tell us what it is. I mean, like, give us an example of the specific amount of a mole and then the non-specified amount of mass. Can you give us the differentiation? Like physical. Give us a physical example of how you're making the distinction in your mind.
It seems to be just kind of a little bit of semantics, right? So
something we can picture in our mind.
Your mind is just misfunctioning. You don't get it. Mass.
Welcome to Semantic Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley.
Yeah, this is just a bunch of semantic BS.
No,
right?
it's not. You're just retarded.
Will you let me finish? A mole.
No.
I'll say it again. It's a specific number. All right. Yes, it has mass, and it has a specific.
And mass is a specific number of something also.
But
so they're the same.
Isn't a specific number. One has a specific number.
Give us an example of a specific number. Give us an example of something.
Yeah.
That has a specific number.
Human, whatever.
Carbon 12, right? A gram of carbon 12. Let me see how many atoms are in a gram of carbon 12.
No, it doesn't. Oh my God, you
He's giving the definition of mole again. He doesn't
retard.
seem to want to do it. He doesn't seem to want to acknowledge the fact that his definition of mass, number one, P. Mars, who shut up recently, doesn't seem to be recognising the fact that this description doesn't include anything accelerating at all. So that's a bit of a problem, which we'll have to cross when we've conceded that he's giving the description of a mole. Then we'll figure out why the other side of this argument, the rest of the Muppets on the panel, think inertia is mass. We'll get to that when we get to that. But first, let's see if we ever get a concession that the two things he's describing, mass and mole, are in fact the same thing.
A mole is essentially
yeah, you keep telling us we know what a mole is, right? Yeah, but your mass description's the same. That's where the problem lies, unorthodox. You just don't seem to want to be conceding this.
It's in the definition of a mole. A mole
it's
is a
not a mole.
amount of mass.
Mass is not a mole. Get it through your thick skull, you idiot.
What?
Mass is not a mole.
It
mole
isn't his mind.
a quantity.
This is the problem. Arwin.
It's not
Arwin.
mass.
That's what I've been trying.
God.
That's what I've been trying to say this
but
whole
his
time,
description,
Arwin.
Arwin,
That's
is.
what I've been trying to tell you for 10 fucking minutes.
No, don't swear. Don't get annoyed by this, unorthodox. It's okay. Every time an orthodox describes mass, the actual description and definition he's giving is of a mole. Now, that's a problem for two reasons. One, because it's not mass if it's a mole. And number two, you guys, the other guys on the panel, think inertia is mass.
I don't.
Oh, really? So why have we got things accelerating? Why have we got velocity in your description?
Nope. No velocity, no motion, resistance to acceleration.
Acceleration, no motion, just acceleration. And when we accelerate, there will be no motion, because acceleration excludes motion. Okay, Arwin, whatever you say.
Oh, no, not acceleration. Resistance to acceleration. That's not
resistance
motion.
To acceleration.
It's not acceleration.
So there's nothing happening then.
Resistance.
So nothing's happening then. Nothing's happening.
Nathan, I'm sorry, but you are.
Secondly, we can measure resistance, Arwin. That would be a resistance value.
That's right.
Right. Well, how the hell does this have anything to do with mass?
That's how it's measured.
What? By measuring resistance?
Yeah.
And acceleration.
That's right.
Oh, right. Well, do you want to tell
Right
that to
there.
an orthodox? Because an orthodox
If
seems
you
to be
present my
saying something
screen and
completely
everyone
different,
can see it.
Arwin. An orthodox seems to be saying it's the specific amount of stuff inside.
Well, he's an idiot.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah, he is.
Well, that's the definition of mass.
You just told me what I've been saying the whole time. You just repeated back to me what I've been trying to explain to you the whole time. Arwin.
You're just talking about moles. You're talking about quantities. It has nothing to do with mass.
He doesn't think so. He thinks he's talking about mass, even though it is the definition of mole. He still thinks that's actually mass, Arwin. You just have two definitions. He's got a definition, and he's pretty sure his definition's right. You have a definition, and you're pretty sure yours is right. So we've got two people with one thing and two definitions for it. Both think they're right. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really incredible, especially because I'm actually presenting the official definition of mass on screen for over half an hour.
And it matches.
I'm not making this up.
And it matches
what's written
inertia.
right there.
Your definition for mass matches the definition of inertia. Unorthodox's definition of mass matches mole.
No.
Inertia
No,
is not
I'm
meant.
not having it. This isn't what's happening, even though I'll detail it 5 times the same as mole.
So can you point on my screen that I'm presenting where the word inertia is mentioned?
No, it is this. Now bring up the definition of inertia, Arwin, and you'll find
No,
that
no,
it's
no,
the
no.
same.
In the definition of mass, the
I
one
know,
I'm presenting.
and it matches the definition of inertia. I said we'd cross this bridge, but we still haven't resolved the fact that we've got another panelist giving a totally different 2p, not 1, 2. 2 definitions, P.
Yeah, you're just talking over me because you know I got you by the balls.
You haven't got me by anything. You've brought up the definition of mass, and you're like, here it is, the definition of mass. And then you ignore that it matches the definition of inertia.
It's not there.
Doesn't, Nathan?
The definition of mass, not inertia. There is no inertia in the definition of mass.
No, I didn't say there was. I said it matches the definition of inertia were you to bring up the definition of inertia and study them side by side. You would have 2 matching definitions, the same as, coincidentally, because we've got 2 definitions here, the same as unorthodox's definition matching mole.
Nathan, there's a difference between inertia and mass. And mass is a property of an object, and inertia is a property of motion and the object. It's the difference.
Well, according to Arwin, we've got an acceleration and a resistance.
Arwin's correct on this.
Oh, so we do
Arwin
have
is the
motion.
sensible
So we do have motion in mass then, P. Yeah, just like in inertia. Funny that.
Yeah, it's really funny. But
yeah, funny because it shits all over both your arguments. You're all muppets. None of you realise that you've both got contradictions in your definition. Both of you think you're right, even though we've got 2 definitions. No one's going, whoa, hold the phone. Why are we having this argument in the first place? Why is it that mass, something that should be pretty well tied down, has got 2 definitions? Isn't that worrying? The fact that you can even have this argument with an orthodox?
I would like to hear Nathan answer Arwin's question because I don't think he can because he's a fool.
Yeah, where's the contradiction, Nathan?
You seem to be describing it as the amount of stuff in something. Arwin seems to be describing it as an accelerated force and a resistance. They're very different things, unorthodox.
No, that's not what is written here. What I'm
So are you 2 in agreement now?
It is
unorthodox. Talking to an orthodox. Talking to an orthodox, Arwin.
Acceleration.
Yeah, that's not what unorthodox said, though, is it?
No, and he is wrong.
If you would have let me finish my sentence, that would have been what I would have said next, Nathan. Right? It's not one or the other. They're a combination.
Oh, so can you show me on Arwin's definition where it says the amount of stuff specifically in something?
The amount of stuff gives rise to...
No, where does it say that in... Oh, no, listen to the question. Where does it say that in Arwin's definition, where it's talking about forces and things moving? Can you show me where it says that, please? Unorthodox.
Does he have it up on the page, or you want me to reference something? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, I can't look at it right this second.
Yeah.
I'm surveying the globe of Earth, trying to make sure this curvature.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
Hold on.
So, Arwin, you've got this up on screen.
Oh, good Lord. I don't think I can read that. That's too small.
Oh, for the love of God.
Hold on. Okay, I can see it. Mass in physics. Property of matter that measures the resistance to roughly blah, blah, blah. Acceleration, okay? Roughly the mass of an object is a measure of the number of atoms in it.
So which is it?
There you go.
That's 2 different things.
Combination.
So
it's a combination.
Oh, so it's a combination of the 2 now. So we've got both.
Yes. Yes, it's not just 3 words for the definition, Nathan.
So why is
there's
it
like 12 or 13.
Why is it then that also matches the definition of a mole and the definition of inertia?
A mole is a specific number, Nathan.
Can you show where it matches the definition of inertia? Because I don't think you know what inertia means.
Well, let's have a look. Bring it up. P, be my guest.
You know what a kilogram is, right, Nathan? A kilogram, a measurement of the amount of mass.
What's mass?
Right?
What's mass?
We just did that, Nathan.
Oh, really? I thought we were in the middle of it. P. Mars is going to get what inertia is because he claims I don't know what it is.
That's kilograms used in large scale. Avogadro's number is used in small scale.
Really?
Inertia is the resistance of any physical object to a change in its velocity.
Right. So that in physics, the property of matter measures its resistance to acceleration. Correct, P?
Yes.
Well, that's inertia, correct, P?
No, because there's a difference between velocity and acceleration.
Oh, really? What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to bring up the definition of velocity and the definition of acceleration? Actually put it on screen rather than just reading it.
You don't know the difference between velocity and acceleration?
I'm asking you. You're saying there's a difference.
Acceleration
When we
is a
ask
change in
questions
velocity.
for clarification,
So let's clarify what the difference is. Because other than the word acceleration versus, what was it? Velocity. Other than that, they sound exactly the same. What P. Mars has read out and what Arwin's got on screen are the same. The only difference being one says acceleration, one says velocity.
Velocity is a speed constant in relation to the surrounding
Bring it up.
things.
You've got it on screen. Why are you telling me? Why aren't you bringing up a reference this
Acceleration
time?
is an acceleration.
Why aren't you bringing it up, Arwin? Why are you just telling me?
Oh, sure, I'll bring it up.
Hello, John.
Hello. Ahoy, hoy.
Oh, I hate that. Hello.
Velocity, the speed of something given in a direction. Guess what? The speed of something is a constant. Acceleration has a rate. It is not a constant.
So it's a
You
calculation.
appear to have misread the definition, Arwin.
No, I'm reading it right here.
That's all right.
Velocity, the speed of something in a given direction. Now let's go back to the definition of mass.
Yeah,
the property of matter that measures its resistance to acceleration.
And now go to inertia.
Right. Oh, inertia. Wait. Okay. Velocity. Now, inertia. The tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged. Doesn't really have to do with anything.
Oh.
Go ahead, John.
Whenever you're ready,
on
Nathan.
screen. Yeah, you're on.
Is it showing?
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at this. We got Wiki, the Baltard's alma mater. Mass is both a property of a physical body and a measure of its resistance to acceleration, a change in its state of motion when a net force is applied. Inertia from Wikipedia is the resistance of any physical object to any change in its velocity. This includes changes to the object's speed or direction of motion. These are the same definitions for the same term. And they can't weasel their way out here because velocity and acceleration. The velocity of an object refers to the speed in a specific direction. Velocity is nothing but the rate of change of displacement. On the other hand, acceleration is the rate of change of velocity with respect to time. Speed inherently is related to what? Time, right? Miles per hour, kilometers per hour, right? This is a cluster screw. Now, for the next definition, mass.
Oh, just
Mass
before you
is a
move on, John,
measurement-
hold on a second. So, just to clarify, so, as stated, the two are the same.
Inertia and mass are the same. These are both the same definition. They're trying to weasel words, right?
Correct.
A change in the state of its motion changes to the direction of motion. It's the same thing.
So,
Resistance,
the definition of mass is the same as the definition of inertia. The two are the same. They've just mixed up the words a little bit, but ultimately they're the same bloody thing in the definition.
Yep. Now let's go to mass and mole. Mass is a measurement. Here's a different definition of mass. You already know there's a problem since we got two different definitions. Mass is a measurement of the amount of matter something contains. Mole definition. The amount of substance. It's over right there, containing the same number of fundamental units as there are atoms in exactly 12 grams of C12. That's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atom. These are also the same exact definition. And by the way, P.S., they just changed the definition of a mole to it contains exactly 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd elementary entity.
Hello, we've got a new
So
guest.
they replaced carbon-12 with the elementary entity. Same number. Same thing. You guys got some big problems, man.
So we've got two definitions of mass.
I believe that resistance to acceleration is the same thing as inertia, and it's not. And
Sorry, I'm
you're a
muted.
fraud because
He
you
was making a
insert
background
things
noise.
in those quotes that are not there when you're
They're not
actually going to look
quotes,
them up.
they're citations.
How can you
You're
say
a
mass?
fraud, John?
How can you say they're the
They're not
same thing? Why
quotes,
would there
they're
be two
citations.
different terms? If
One
they're
at
the
a
same
time.
thing,
One
why
at a
wouldn't they
time.
use the
Hold
same
on.
word?
Hold on. Hold on. Arwen, go ask your question again, please. Arwen. Hello, Arwen.
Oh, right. Somebody's asking me a question now?
Yeah, I'm saying, can you repeat your question? Because you got talked over, and I just want you to ask your question so John can respond to it.
So I didn't ask a question, I just made a statement. And that
Nathan.
is resistance to acceleration is not the same thing as inertia. Because
Nathan.
inertia, by default, implies a motion that must be taking place in order for inertia to establish. Resistance to acceleration does not imply motion. It's simply a consequence of what the mass does in response to acceleration were it to occur.
Are you reading what's on? Are you reading what's on screen right now, Arwen?
It's a fraud.
Yeah,
That's
this is
fraud.
this guy's
That
a
is
fraud.
edited by John because he is a fraud and
They're
he
both
misquotes.
John is a
taken. They're both taken from Wikipedia. Both of them.
You want me to look up the source and prove that he is a fraud? Because
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know he is because I've seen these.
Yeah, do that. Let's do it. I've got it on screen.
Hold
I
on.
will.
They might be
That's good.
hyperlinks.
I will.
Are they,
I
hold
will
on,
right
hold on,
now.
Hold on. Are they hyperlinks, John? Can you just click on those links?
I've got them on screen, Nathan.
Well,
Arwen's
I
wrong.
want to show
I'm
John's
not.
using the hyperlinks that he's put directly underneath them, so we can go straight to him. Because now, Arwen, are you going to say this is a joke afterwards? You've just called him a fraud.
Yeah, no, I mean it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arwen's correct here.
Well,
he's
hold
not.
on.
Yeah, I am.
Hold on.
He's correct.
Hold on. We've gone to the first one, and there it is.
No, I'm looking them up right
Yeah, but
now. I
let's-
don't need
Right,
his
now let's go to
looking
the
up.
second
I'm going to
one.
look it up myself.
Hold on, Arwen. Now let's go to the second one.
Yeah.
Distance changes in speed and.
I'm sorry. Were you
Oh, it's
you
all
want
right.
this one?
No, it's good. No, go
Mass
back
is from
to the
physical
second
body
one. That's
resist
good.
acceleration, motion, nest force, strength due to gravitational attract, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, there's no inertia here.
It's exactly
And
the same.
inertia, there is no
Arwen,
Yes.
Arwen, last show, you would not concede. You just claimed it was a joke. Now I've got you to confirm you're wrong. It is
No, I'm
exactly
not
the
wrong.
same as Wikipedia. It's literally cut and paste.
It's the exact same definitions. I just took them from Wikipedia. I didn't adjust
Your
them. I colored
accusation-
I'm
them and
looking at them
highlighted.
right now. It's not there.
It's acceleration
done
and
it.
velocity are different.
No,
Did it
stop,
live.
stop. Arwen's accusation was that John edited. Arwen, please demonstrate his editing.
Right. Okay, let me compare them. I have to put my
Just
two
did.
screens together.
We just
It
did.
just did.
We just did, and they're the same.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay,
Hold on.
we've just done it live for the
inertia.
audience. You just clicked the links, checked, and they matched. Really? Are we really going to do this, are we?
Mass.
Yeah, he's a class. He's ortho-
Resistance.
Give him a minute. Give him a minute.
Acceleration.
Why?
Because the issue's going to be if he's wrong, what does he do?
Right.
He already
Yeah, but
said he's
you can show
wrong.
your
I just
screen,
pulled him
right?
up.
Yeah, we already know he's wrong, Anthony. It's just been
I know,
demonstrated
but
live after he
the
called him
issue's
a
not
fraud.
whether he's wrong or not. The issue is what's he going to do.
John, did you have your morning cereal full of crayons?
Hang on. The point's getting lost by doing this. Don't ruin this point, unorthodox. Let's get closure.
Okay, sorry. I was just making sure he had his, crayons.
We'll get to you, unorthodox. I assure you. When we start talking
right.
about
You're
Moll
right.
again, we
It
will
is
talk
there.
to you.
It's
So the
right.
allegation that
I
it was
apologize. I apologize. I was wrong. It's
Okay,
there.
next problem, Arwin. The two definitions, inertia and mass, are the same.
My phone's dying. I'm at one.
No, they're not the same.
Unorthodox, we'll get to you.
Accel-
You claim it's
No,
Moll.
it's still wrong.
Mars, we'll get to
I
you.
was wrong
You claim there's
saying
only
that
one.
John misquoted because
Right.
he didn't.
Unorthodox rage quit.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hey, guys.
So, Arwin, there's a big problem here.
No, there's not.
They're the
Although
same
I was
thing.
wrong saying that John misquoted. That was not
They're
true.
not
Sorry about
misquoted, and they are the same, as I've asserted
they're
about
not.
20 times on
No, they're
this show.
still not. Sorry.
What do you mean they're still not? They are the same.
No, the one implies there's already an object at motion. The other one is a change in the state of motion, which can be zero. The
Sorry,
other one, it
the
cannot.
top one,
It
let's just shut Arwin up. In brackets, a change in its state of motion. That's from mass. From inertia. Changes to the object's speed or direction of motion.
That's right.
Yeah! So they are the same. There's no two ways about this, Arwin. They're the same exact thing. They both contain the same exact definition, just with the words changed in their ordering. But they are the same.
Well, they're not.
They're not the
Nathan.
same.
No, they're not.
Acceleration is different than velocity. That's the difference right there.
Let's go over that again. The velocity of an object refers to the speed in a specific direction. Velocity is nothing but the rate of change of displacement. On the other hand, acceleration is the rate of change of velocity with respect to time. Right? It's still
Tumbleweed.
motion.
Yeah.
Tumbleweed.
No, it's not. Velocity is in motion. It cannot be not in motion. If something is not in motion, there is no inertia.
Let's just do it again. I'll do it again. I don't mind. A change from mass, a change in its state of motion. From inertia, changes to the object's speed or direction of motion. These are the same.
They're not the same.
They're the same like apples and oranges.
They're not the same at all.
Oh, from the camp that believes we're not talking about Moll. So, where's... Oh, Unorthodox is gone. Where's Unorthodox gone?
He rage quit.
He didn't rage quit.
It's because he knew. It's because he knew we were going to pin him down on Moll next.
You're an idiot, man. I just posted an article that tells the difference between inertia and mass.
But the thing that got this started is we were talking about an experiment, and we were asking how can you vary gravity, because that's what we were talking about initially.
Yeah, Unorthodox has run away because he knows that he was about to have his toes put to the fire.
Now, to be fair, he did say his battery was dying on his phone.
I like this story.
So do we have to go over mass and Moll again, or are we good?
Can we get closure? Because the word velocity and changing...
No, they're not. They're
yeah,
not.
it's
And I will
Darwin.
never let this go because I'm right.
No, you're
Right.
not.
Well, you're
Yeah,
not
I
right,
is
Arwin.
Right.
Mass does not need
guys are
to be
ridiculous.
in motion.
Okay, Arwin, you're gonna
Okay,
let
well-
somebody else speak?
Inertia
Yes.
has to be in motion. Otherwise, there is no inertia.
Let's do it a third time, and then I'm going to get John to do it to round out the show, just because Arwin's done it so many times and is getting so angry about it. A change in its state of motion. That's mass. Yeah? Then we move on to the definition of inertia. Changes to the object's speed or direction of motion.
It's right there. Anyone incoherent second grader can reconcile this. They're the same.
Yeah, I mean, because I've just done it, there's probably no need to do this, but in essence, the definition, the wiki definition of mass is the same as the wiki definition of inertia, which is a big problem as a lot of the globehead maths contains mass in their equations, their proof of nothing equations. But just so we can round out, John, Can you go through Mol again? We would have gone through it with Unorthodox here. He's run away because apparently he's got a low battery. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but we'll school him anyway, or you will in this instance, if you don't mind.
Yes, mass is a measurement of the amount of matter something contains. You could find this definition in hundreds of thousands of places. I took it from New York University, but it's everywhere. And mole, the amount of substance containing the same number of fundamental units as there are atoms in exactly 12 grams of C12. That's 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. This is, as you can see, the amount of matter something contains, the amount of substance containing. It's the same thing. Same thing. And like I said, the new definition of a mole, they just replaced the comparison with carbon-12 with the number of elementary entities. The number is still the same. The end.
Marvellous.
Where he got that, but it's ridiculous.
I know Mike's probably joined for a reason. He tends to join because he actually has something to say, so I won't round out until I've heard from Mike. Unless he just says, no, I'm all right. We'll see.
No, I was listening to the first half of the show, and you guys were talking about the laws and cops, and I heard Arwin say some things about the Dutch regulations and laws, and how cops have the right to stop you in your car. And I just got so frustrated because he was really talking bullshit.
Right? No, he's not right.
No, it's not right.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
And
I said they will stop you.
Arwin, can you please let me talk instead of talk over me? And Pete had the same thing. You know, he was basically asking or saying that we should comply with cops and, you know, don't get yourself in trouble. But, you know, I have a lot of experience with dealing with cops and dealing with court cases with regards to their jurisdiction. And that's the key word in this matter. And I think somebody on this panel I think he's gone now, but he was talking very wise things about the laws and jurisdiction of judges and cops, because they don't have jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction to take your car. They don't even have jurisdiction to pull you over unless you have a registered motor vehicle.
That's right.
Yes, and the way to get out of that is not register your car. Make it a private
Don't
property.
listen to this guy.
Pete, shut up. You're a complicit dickhead.
No, you shut up. You're giving people bad advice.
It's going to end in loads of ad hominems and rows, so I think Mike's hopefully got his point across. But with that, I will say, first and foremost, as my kid smacks me in the face, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!